Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? I know I say things that offend people on social media practically every day. And people say to me, when you do this, you're going to push people away. You're going to push away your fellow Jews from Judaism. I think this is part of this controversy with the World Zionist Congress, other things, other issues. And I don't pretend to have all the answers, but this is what works for me. I understand there are other things that work for other people. But why do I use this, I would call it tough love, kiruv approach? Because I think it's true. I think that's what's real. I don't think we should be watering down Torah just to impress people or attract people to it. On the other hand, I think, I'll be honest, I think there are some of these other tough love kiruv people who I disagree with very strongly. You have to find a balance in that. I was actually in the readings the Lubavitcher Chassidim have a few days ago in the Tanya, this question of how do we balance love and hate, to hate the sin and love the sinner, essentially. And at what point do we totally separate? And the Tanya teaches something that I don't think the Lubavitcher Chassidim actually follow today. I mean, the old Chabad Chassidim, the Malachim, these that follow probably a more authentic form of Chabad Chassidus do follow this. And I'll be honest, I don't really care. I can love and embrace the teachings of the Baal Tanya and the Tzemach Tzedek without venerating them the way that the Lubavitchers do. And in a certain sense, I think it's like what Rav Shach said, that the Baal Tanya will be the first to give him a Yashar Koyach for defending his positions. And on the other hand, there are different positions that we recognize. We don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. We simply have to recognize is that we're supposed to follow Shulchan Aruch. As Jews, I remember I spent Shabbos in Kfar Chabad, and I'm not saying this because I'm obsessing on Chabad or this or that. I remember they told us, that one of the most important things is that you follow Shulchan Aruch. And they said, all right, if you want to follow, within the Shulchan Aruch tradition, you want to follow the opinions of the Ben Ish Chai or the Mishnah Berurah or the Shulchan Aruch or this or that, because of the hate. But we have to basically follow Shulchan Aruch, right? And Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, says a lot of things, and then people really don't follow them at all. I'm not talking about things like, all right, Shulchan Aruch says that you're supposed to, essentially you're supposed to wear a gartel when you daven, right? And it's the Hasidim who do that, not anybody else. I understand. But there's another issue of how do we deal with heretics? How, at what point, and also the question is, what point does one become a heretic? You know, and it's pretty much, of course, it's not. We don't approach this in a dogmatic way, the way other religions do. You know, I was, one of our chaplains, who's a Catholic deacon, he said to me, he's dealing with one of one of the inmates who's talking about how his grandchildren were conceived by in vitro fertilization, IVF, and how the church opposes that. And then he's like, I wonder if those kids have a soul. This is what the deacon said to me. I wonder if those kids have a soul. And my answer was simply, in Judaism, we're not as dogmatic on things like that. For me, I'm happy with the 13, with the Yud Gimel Ikrim, to accept those as the dogmas, at least of my movement, even if it's not the dogmas of Judaism as a whole. But there has to be some point. So I know Rabbi Bar Tzadok insists that it's issues of deed, but then again, halacha is also fluid. But where do we draw the line? How do we figure out, what point is someone no longer part of Klal Yisrael? And what does it mean to be Jewish? And I understand these are difficult questions, and different people have different answers, and the best I can do is say what my answer is. And when people say, well, that's going to turn Jewish people off from Judaism, my answer is maybe it's a wake-up call for them, and maybe also, to a certain extent, do we really need? I know Rabbi Bar Tzadok once said, even though I maybe he's changed his position, I know he changes his position on things. I remember he was talking about, he said there's a certain point of people we deal with, and he's like, certain people, they might be born Jewish, right? But let them go intermarry and convert to other religions. He's like, we don't need them, and I sure as hell don't want them. And there is a certain point where that's true. We have to recognize that. And again, Tanya talks about very wisely this balance between love and hate. That you can love and hate the same person. You can love the person and hate their sins. You can love the good deeds and hate the bad deeds. You can recognize perhaps with certain people their essence is good, even if they do things they're not perfect. And then certain people, though, they need a wake-up call. They need to be shaken up and be told, no, you're not part of Klal Yisrael until you repent. And then there's the other issues that I care about. America. To me, America, what all the Zionists say about the state of Israel, it's Reishis Tzmichas Kulaseinu and this and that. I believe that the constitutional system of the United States of America is that. Again, this is my own personal views. These are not dogmas. These are not things I think you have to believe to be a Jew or to be an American. This is what I believe. Chazal teach, and the reason I believe that is because Chazal teach Chacham Adav Minavi. The Ariya Kodesh explains that when it says that a sage is on a higher level than a prophet, so certain things that just come from common sense and wisdom are on a higher level. What's going on here? That's not good either. They're on a higher level than revelation, than prophecy. And so the American ideals of the Constitution, I believe, to have a certain divinity in them. Again, it is a fluid document, just like our religion has certain fluidity, but fluidity is not anarchy. And there is a certain point where things just don't end the way you want them to. And maybe I'm going to find that out myself in my search in philosophy and my growth in Torah. But I don't think that, just because people want things to be one way or another, and maybe I'm wrong also in this, but I want to open up these discussions. When someone like Dennis Prager says that, Judaism is more than a religion, much to his chagrin as a Jew, he's not happy about this. It's obvious he doesn't want it this way. He's lamenting this. But because one can be an atheist and a Jew, then Judaism is more than a religion. And my answer is that, you can't be an atheist and a Jew. You can't. You can be an atheist and a non-Gentile. Meaning the atheist Jew, or the ex-Jew, does not become a Gentile, but he also loses part of his Jewish privileges. He doesn't count for a minyan according to how it's generally understood. I see there are different opinions, and under what context do we discuss the meaning of a minyan and this and that. But the plain Shulchan Aruch, there's at least opinions that he doesn't count for minyan, that the wine that he lifts up is not kosher, and he's not part of the Jewish people, just because his mother was Jewish. So, and the way, like Rabbi Shapiro, Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro says very wisely, he says, who made Hitler the rabbi? Meaning people will say things like, Hitler didn't care if you were religious or not. Hitler also said if your father's father was Jewish, you were racially Jewish, in the scheme of how the Nazis viewed Jews, to a certain extent at least. Maybe they weren't the primary target, but still, that's not what the halacha recognizes someone. Meaning in halacha, in Jewish law, if your father's father was Jewish but your mother wasn't, you are a Gentile. You can, and there's nothing wrong with that. As opposed to being what we could call non-Gentile, the non-Jew, non-Gentile, this third category of the Yisrael Mumar, there is something wrong with that in the eyes of Judaism. Again, if you don't subscribe to this faith, it doesn't matter. If you don't believe in Judaism, why would you care that Judaism says you're going to hell? And meaning Judaism says that, it's a sin for someone who's born Jewish to eat pork, and it's not a sin for someone who is not Jewish, whether born Jewish or converted, doesn't matter, but someone who is not Jewish in any way to eat pork, that's not a sin, but the one who's born Jewish, it is a sin, right? Now, if you don't believe in that, why would you care? Meaning that only matters to those of us who believe in this. So that's what it means, that it's a religion. Meaning if you believe in it, then it matters. And if you don't believe in it, it doesn't matter. And why do you care? Unless you really believe in it and you're trying to lie to yourself that you don't believe in it. That's the reason why some people care. So then, but in general, again, this is where I disagree with a lot of really most rabbis, is that, the faith issues are the issues of being part of the community. Meaning, when we list who loses a place in the world to come, it is those who, it's generally the faith issues. Now, the only thing we could say about the faith issues is we are not mind readers. Dvarim shebalev dvarim. We don't know what someone really believes. So all we can go by is what someone's stated faith. Okay. And that's so that's the issue. And again, now that's my main issue with the reform movement. In general, the conservative movement does believe that halacha is binding, even though they have different interpretations of halacha than we have. That's fine. I can live with that. As a movement, they officially accept that the 13 principles of faith are part of our tradition, and there's obviously the different views on that, and I would say it's a case-by-case basis. Now, when it comes to deeds, we will generally say that someone's mechal Shabbos b'far Hesia. If someone is openly desecrating the Sabbath, again, where do we draw the line of desecrating the Sabbath? What is desecrating the Sabbath? What are the actual rabbinical laws, and what are things that are our modern day interpretations? I try to be as liberal as possible with this. I don't want to condemn someone who uses modern technology on the Sabbath as being someone who's breaking the Sabbath. I want to see modern technology issues as an issue of extra piety and not an issue of fundamental. I want to be as liberal as possible with this, without being, like we said, hefker, without being and encourage people to be pious and follow the ways of their community. But it's complicated. It's not easy. All right, I'm late for work. I gotta go back inside. I gotta take care of this stuff. God bless you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We'll see you all later. All right, thank you.